My name is Henry Collins. I'm 34 years old. I was born and raised in southern Missouri, but these days I work as a chainsaw operator and log loader in lumber camps scattered across the southern US. In my spare time, I record stories for the Serpent Shadows channel. I started out just sharing forest tales, never imagining I'd end up recounting something so real, so brutal, it would leave me sleepless for nights. Imagine cutting oak deep in an American forest. The scent of green wood thick in the air, everything feeling routine, until, in the silence between one log and the next, you come face to face with a colossal creature. A giant snake, grotesque and ancient, like the forest itself, emerges from nowhere, and suddenly your only goal is survival. I recorded everything, and what you're about to hear will forever change the way you see the wild woods of the US. Heart of the forest, Missouri Ozarks, USA. It was early autumn, the first chills curling through rust-colored leaves. I got to the site early for another harvest shift, carrying my steel chainsaw and the crew radio. Just me and John, my partner, surrounded by stacks of oak logs waiting to be cut and hauled. Our site was remote, over 8 miles from any decent road, beneath 100-year-old trees that cast shadow even at noon. That day, the silence felt different. The usual chorus of birds was gone. No badgers, no squirrels. The air was still heavy, laced with a strange scent, a mix of moss, wet earth, and something sour, metallic. John used to laugh at my snake paranoia, always saying, "Serpents bury themselves till April." But that morning, no jokes were made after the first crash. Sounded like a log falling on its own, but wetter, heavier, like something massive dragging itself under thick, dead leaves. I'd already cut through half an old oak, and was lining up the next log when I saw it. Behind a fallen trunk, the ground began to ripple, shifting like waves. A hole opened up, reeking of rotten eggs and decayed flesh. Out of that hole rose a head, helmet wide with black and green scales alternating. Golden eyes locked on me, eyes filled with a cruel intelligence that froze me in place. The body was as thick as a tree trunk, rising almost vertically, uncoiling more than 4 meters from the ground. John tossed his chainsaw and screamed, never seen a 6'3" grown man run like a kid before. Paralyzed, all I could do was breathe slow while that thing sniffed the air. Its forked tongue pointing straight at me, maybe recognizing the intruder. The sound of scraping leaves, the wet slither of its body stretching, deep grooves carved into the forest floor. All burned into my memory, even after my chest cam fell from all the shaking. When it struck with impossible speed, every primal instinct kicked in. I dropped everything and ran. I heard it crashing through the underbrush, smashing branches like twigs. It felt like the entire forest wanted me dead or hunted. In that moment, it wasn't a fight. It was survival. I ran blindly through the woods, clothes tearing on bark, branches slapping my face, every muscle begging for rest. My heart thudded wildly, just trying to keep me alive. The creature behind me seemed to bend the forest to its will. I heard its enormous body tear up roots, crush ancient stumps, make its own path through the wilderness. The air was as thick with fear as it was with moisture and churned earth. I screamed into the radio, just static. John had vanished into the woods. No truck engine, no human voice reached me. I looked back in a clearing, thinking I'd left the monster behind. But the vegetation split open like something huge was tunneling beneath it. The giant snake's head emerged, golden eyes gleaming, jaw slowly opening, as if studying me. Swallowing the terror, I scrambled up a fallen oak for height. The trunk creaked, moss clumps crumbling under my hands. I felt the snake's hot breath, ancient, sour, sticky. For a moment, it reared half its body, revealing muscular plates beneath its scales, and an inhuman strength. Out of sheer panic, I revved the chainsaw still clipped to my belt. The loud roar echoed, and finally the creature backed off a few inches. But the damage was done. Sunken earth, scattered rocks, a clearing forever marked. There was no time to be brave. I jumped down, ran through the mud, tripped over twisted roots, my entire body screaming for mercy. The snake's hiss echoed everywhere, like fear itself had turned me into part of the forest. I felt something cold, maybe another creature, slither past me as the forest swallowed light, sound, and hope. Another crash. Nearby tree uprooted, the ground quaking under each slam of the creature's body. I forced myself to breathe slow, fighting the urge to run, knowing even the slightest movement could provoke an attack. For a second, I thought I'd just be another backwoods legend, scattered bones, lost in the statistics of forest disappearances. In that crushing silence, broken only by the snake's hiss and falling branches, I made a recording on the radio. If you find this, it was a snake. A monster. I tried to run. My voice broke with fear, but I got the message out. When I finally saw an opening, I sprinted toward a rocky incline. From there, I thought I'd have the advantage, but the creature already knew the terrain. It vanished into the brush, waiting, patiently watching my next move. I crouched between rocks, cold sweat dripping, until the sky dimmed and the forest cloaked the day in darkness. My only comfort was the distant hum of a chainsaw, maybe John letting me know he was still alive, or maybe just the echo of something worse. That night I didn't sleep. Every rustle, every breath of wind could have been the nightmare returning. And in the deep woods, anything that smells fear sees it as an invitation. The forest had never felt so hostile. Every sound carried threat. Leaves rustling, branches crashing far away. It all became a symphony of possible attacks. I sat in that rocky hideout, trembling, clinging to the radio, hearing only my own panicked breathing mixed with static. I had never felt so much fear. Fear of not making it back. Fear of becoming a forgotten tale of loggers swallowed by the woods. Time slowed to a crawl. Minutes dragged like hours. Each moonbeam was swallowed by the closed canopy. Damp leaves clung to my skin, and the stench of rot grew more sour, more pungent. My chest tightened with every flashback of those fangs, that ancient knowing gaze. The cracking of roots echoed again, like the monster was circling, just waiting for my will to break. Then I heard heavy footsteps through the brush. For a moment I hoped it was John, maybe circling back. But no, the sound was slower, slithering, accompanied by a wet dragging. That low, guttural hiss followed. Between the shrubs, the massive head appeared again, scales glistening under the dim starlight. My body froze. It was like looking at a living fossil, a memory buried deep in the forest. I stayed perfectly still, holding my breath, trying to disappear in that rocky hollow. Its forked tongue tasted the air passing between my shaking fingers. Even the rock beneath me seemed to hum as the snake crept closer, testing my resolve. I wanted to cry. I wanted to bolt. But one move could have been my last. I didn't move. Sweat rolled down my ribs. The serpent's head drew closer, less than a meter now, golden eyes glowing, predator bright. I could smell the rot, feel the heat of its breath, almost human. Seconds passed like centuries. My body ached from the tension. Suddenly, the radio crackled loudly. Reflexively, I hit the button. "John, are you there?" The sound shattered the forest and the snake. In a flash, it spun and vanished into the thicket with terrifying speed, leaving a wide trail, deep prints, and a new silence, one even more threatening. That's when I realized it wasn't just luck or instinct keeping me alive. It was sheer respect for the unknown, the silent kingdom that rules every forgotten corner of these woods. If John was still alive, I had to find him. But with every step, the fear of seeing that gaze again made me tremble. I walked into a clearing, following broken paths, praying for a human sign. In the distance, I heard the chainsaw again. Or was it just exhaustion echoing in my head? The sky began to lighten, faintly, bringing a fragile hope. That serpent was real, and my nightmare wasn't over. Of that, I'd never doubt again. Dawn crept in slowly, its pale glow giving the forest a soft, deceptive calm. My legs still felt like lead, body marked by a night of pure tension. Every muscle ached, and my mind kept flashing back to those eyes, that living gold radiating ancient dominance. I stumbled through the clearing, searching for any sign of John. The silence was absolute now, as if the forest itself was waiting. My breath mixed with the faint sound of a chainsaw, and I clung to that thread of hope. When I hit the trail, I found John, exhausted, but alive. We hugged without a word, heavy with fear and relief. We didn't need to speak. Our eyes had already said enough. We both knew we'd crossed into something wild, something beyond explanation. And in these forests, survival isn't a given. It's a fight. As we headed back to camp, I felt the full weight of what had happened. Not just the physical threat of the giant snake, but the brutal realization of how small and fragile we really are in the rawest corners of nature. The stories I've told on Serpent Shadows carry a deeper truth now. I live with that fear and a deep respect for the forces that rule the wild. I almost didn't make it back, and the serpent, it's still out there, slithering silently among the roots and trees, always waiting. If you liked this story of life and death in the deep woods, subscribe to the Serpent Shadows channel, share the tale, and get ready for more journeys where the line between reality and nightmare is razor thin.